And to be also really conscious about something, you need to be able to feel something about how you feel about that particular thing. Uh, in other words, there is a paper that I think was published by Nagel, or others can say Nagel, but I think the right pronunciation of that particular name is Nagel. Um, he talks of consciousness. He describes consciousness as something that has to do with the way we feel and think. He says that if you cannot, for you to be conscious, you have to be able to think and experience something, right? Because when you think of something, you are basically, thinking about what you are experiencing. And then, in order to really be conscious, again, you need to be able to feel something about the way you think, right? So, in other words, whatever thoughts that we have, there is a certain way we feel about those thoughts, right? There is no way you can think of something without having a feeling about how you are thinking, right? Because he says, for you to know that you are thinking, you have to feel something about the way you are thinking. And for you to know that you are actually feeling something, you need to have certain thoughts that describe the way you are feeling. So these two things are intertwined. They are together. If you try to remove one from the other, then it is a little bit difficult to understand whether you are actually feeling that particular thing or you are actually thinking of that particular thing, right? So when you say, when I think of, say, love, I don't feel anything, then that is more like when you say you don't feel anything, you have already said that you are feeling nothing. So when you say nothing, then nothing becomes a state of feeling or a description of how you feel, right? So when you say I don't feel something, then you're just simply saying that whenever you think about that particular thing, your feelings do not associate it with anything negative or maybe positive. It is something that is kind of neutral or in between those things, those states of feelings. But regardless, that's a feeling. So you can also feel empty. When you are trying to be more poetic, people say that I'm feeling empty, right? But that's a feeling. It's a feeling of emptiness, a feeling of nothingness. So feelings will always have to be there whenever you are thinking. And whenever you are thinking, you always have to feel something about what you are thinking, right? So that's basically one of these two most important properties of consciousness, right? So if these two are the most important properties of consciousness that we know so far, then we can actually know how we can describe what consciousness is. And we can also understand how consciousness interacts with the universe in which we live. Like, for example, if we say that, then we're simply trying to investigate how is the environment in which we live shaping our thoughts, and how is our thoughts shaping that particular environment, right? Now remember, it's not just thoughts, it's also emotions. So how is our thoughts and emotions shaping our environment, and how is our environment with particular conditions also shaping our thoughts and emotions? So, in other words, it means that if consciousness is a function of thoughts and emotions, then the changes in the environment can cause variations in the states of consciousness that we exhibit. Same applies, the changes in the states of our consciousness can also have an impact on the environment in which we live. by, for example, the more you become conscious of certain things you dislike in a particular environment, the more that you are likely to implement certain actions that will cause a change in the arrangement of the physical appearance of that particular environment. For example, if you are in a particular environment and you tend to dislike disorganization, you are more likely to start changing the arrangement in that particular environment to suit your perception of what you perceive to be good in that particular environment. So now it is not just about these basic things that we can actually benefit from understanding the interaction between our consciousness and the universe, but it also goes as far as understanding the architecture of the universe in which we live, because you realize that the mind is what is shaping the universe in which we live, and there is also an extent to which this universe is also shaping the environment in which we live. So understanding these two, understanding consciousness will allow us to actually come up with a proper understanding of how things actually operate in the universe. Okay, now we're going to go through the mathematical expressions of consciousness in order to come up with a framework which we'll be using to actually come up with mathematical analysis of consciousness, using certain principles from physics as well as principles from metaphysics and philosophy and all different fields of study that can actually help us to build this theory of consciousness. Okay, so I'll be running through things very quickly because the subject of consciousness is very deep and we can take a lot of time just explaining very simple things, right? So the idea is to move very quickly so that we can quickly have an idea of what we are trying to do, and then we can come back to the simple things later on in order to actually enhance our understanding of what consciousness actually is.